Ladies and gentlemen, honorable and distinguished guests, it's my great pleasure to have the opportunity in this conference to address you regarding the genocide crimes committed against the people of Kurdistan and the other parts of Iraq. Also, I'd like to thank the organizers of this conference, in particular Mrs. Bayan Abdulrahman, the KRG representative staff, and anyone who made contribution. Before starting my speech, I would like to send our condolences to the victims of the terrorist explosion in Kirkuk yesterday, Duskhormatu, and other places in Kurdistan and Iraq. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ba'ath regime in Iraq, from the beginning of its rule, adopted an ideology with the chauvinistic, sectarianism, and dictatorship views that eventually led to committing notorious crimes, including genocide crimes against the Kurds based on nationality, against the Shia based on sectarianism, and against the other part of the society. The Ba'ath regime had a chauvinistic view, used the slogan of one Arab nation with an eternal mission for this Iraq that implies that no place for other nations except Arabs, and specifically it was targeting the Kurds as the second largest nationality in Iraq, as well as the Turkmen and the other components of the society. Consequently, the Ba'ath regime regarded the Kurds as a threat to its chauvinistic ambitions and had intention to eliminate the Kurds from Iraq. The intention for eliminating the Kurds was translated to planned actions and crimes from the early of 1960s, when the Ba'ath regime took power for a while during 1963. At the time, the regime waged a wide war against the Kurdish area with an intensive ethnic cleansing policy. For example, in the city of Kirkuk and its surrounding, started wide military attacks against the civilian areas. Inside the city, rounded up thousands of the families, separated the men, and took them to Musaib and other infamous prisons near Baghdad. Also displayed the rest of the families and replaced their houses by Arab militia, and destroyed many Kurdish villages and killed many civilians. The war continued, and in August 1969 in the Khan village, in 1969, in the Khan village close to the city of Duhok, the Iraqi military set fire to a cave in which 76 women and children were hiding from military attacks, which led to burning and killing all of them. In another incident, in 16th of December 1969 again, military forces rounded up people of Soria village in one place and started to shoot them, killing 39 civilians, among of them 25 Christians and 14 Kurdish Muslims. Top genocide crimes. But when Saddam Hussein headed the regime, the policy of eliminating the Kurds and destroying Kurdistan reached its top by planning and implementing mass crimes, including mass displacement, mass deportation, mass killing, including genocide crimes and destruction of thousands of villages and some towns. For example, from 1976, the regime started to build a 25-kilometer no-go zone on the border, stripping from the eastern border with Iran, passing through the northern border with Turkey, and ended in the western borders with Syria. The original inhabitants of these areas, thousands of the Kurdish villagers, were forcibly removed to the closed and compulsory towns around the main cities, especially built to closely monitor them and restrict their movement. The no-go zone were burned to the ground, erasing every form of human, animal, and forest life, as well as filling the water wells and covering them with concrete. In 1983, the regime evicted thousands of families from the Barzani tribe from their villages to compulsory camps in Kurdistan and south of Iraq, separated 8,000 men, taking them to unknown places, and only after the collapse of the regime, a few hundred of them were found in mass graves in the desert areas in south of Iraq. Also, during the Saddam's period, lists were made of the names of the Faili Kurds in Baghdad and its outskirts. Their properties confiscated and all their official identification documents were withdrawn. Male, female, young, and old were separated, and each group was taken to different destinations. The young men were detained in Washash and Taji army bases, then transferred to Nugra Salman prison when women and children were taken to the Iraqi-Irani border and forced to cross the border to Iran without any belongings. From February to September of 1988, the regime started the Anfal campaign, which was a comprehensive plan for destroying the rural areas of Kurdistan in 8 stages of military operation. Each state started with a military sanction of an area, bombing the area by warplanes, helicopters, heavy artillery, including chemical gas attacks, and attacking the villages. Then they rounded up the people, taking them to designated military bases or prisons, separating men from women and children. After that, they took them secretly to mass graves, mostly in the desert areas in the south of Iraq. Also, some of them were taken to infamous prisons, such as Nugra Salman, leaving them in harsh condition, leading to the death of many of them. During the Anfal operation, around 182,000 Kurds were killed, over 4,000 villages and some towns were totally erased from the earth. The other notorious crime is the bombardment of Halabja by chemical gas agents in 16th of March 1988, resulting in killing of 5,000 civilians and wounding more than 10,000 in the same day. There are more crimes against all the components of the Kurdistan region, such as the Turkmens, the Arabs, and the Assyrians. Also, there are more details of the mentioned crime, as well as the crimes they committed against the people of south of Iraq, the Shia, and the other parts of Iraq. All this crime at the time. During the crime time and for a period of after that, the regime attempted to deny and hide the crimes, or sometimes to accuse others, even the Kurds, for committing them, or try to justify the crimes. Also, the regime took tough punishment measures, including execution for mentioning and publishing the crimes. Internationally, there was almost a total or silence or denial of these crimes, except from limited and official sources, such as from media, small groups, and some individuals. In short, the International Committee didn't pay attention and didn't take any responsible action to stop and to condemn the crimes at the time. Under the pretext of illegitimacy of interfering in the internal issues and breaching countries' sovereignty, the international community lacked political will to protect oppressed people facing genocide and other crimes. That silence and that denial period added more suffering to the victims and to our people in a whole. After a period of time, As a result of the first Gulf War, limiting Saddam's power, the Kurdish mass exodus in 1991, creation of safe haven in part of Kurdistan, opening access to Kurdistan region, and establishing Kurdistan regional government led to bringing more international attention to Kurdistan and raising awareness concerning the Kurds, including the genocide crimes and other crimes committed by the regime against people of Kurdistan and other parts of Iraq. The one important step took place was the creation of the Iraqi High Tribunal to try these crimes. And the tribunal recognized the following cases as genocide, including Faili, Anfal, Barzanis, and chemical bombardment of Halabja. That was a very positive step at the time for reconciliation process, but unfortunately that intention didn't continue as it was expected. International recognition, the first question, it comes to our mind, why we need it. Sometimes they ask why you are seeking international recognition. Recognizing Kurdish genocide in Iraq as well as the other crimes against the Shia people and other places which committed by Saddam's regime will help in working towards achieving several objectives, including prevention of similar crimes, rights of the victims. What about their rights? Honoring of who lost their lives and reparation of the victims. We have thousands of families now that are suffering. They lack life condition. They need to be supported, and they expect this recognition, which is very important for them. Also sending signals to potential perpetrators for tough sequences and punishment. We are aware of the region now. There's a lot of tough conflicts, and we are expecting violence, probably leading to more crimes. And we are aware also of the chemical agents in the region. So the threat is there. So we need to take action to stop these crimes to occur again. The other thing important, which is reconciliation of the Iraqi society component. So without recognizing the rights of the victims, that will never happen. And it shows also the intention of the political system of Iraq, whether they want to do pay attention to the crimes, acknowledge the crimes, the victims, and also put Iraq on the right direction. Now, new realities facilitating recognition. In the last few years, some development taken place and some progress which helps making recognition more achievable. International community adopted some moral responsibilities. One of them, responsibility to protect the oppressed people, creation of ICC, Human Rights Watch report, the comprehensive report on Kurdish genocide was very important, and intervention in Iraq, Libya, some other countries that broke that concept of absolute sovereignty to soft sovereignty. So sending a signal to the dictatorship, they will get punished if they commit such crimes. The other development, Iraq recognized the crimes as genocide. Iraqi government seeks international recognition now. For example, the Iraqi Human Rights Ministry, along with the Martyrs Foundation and the Committee for the Martyrs in the Parliament, they are working with us to achieve this recognition of the crimes committed by also the regime. Also, the other development is position and policies of KRG towards the neighbors, towards rebuilding the country, towards peace, showing intention of our people. If they have opportunity, they can be a factor of peace in the region. The other thing is the development was important regionally, was until recently the regional circumstances were all against the Kurdish caution. Some regional policies toward the Kurds. Now, for example, Turkey's development policy toward the Kurds and the KRG, the other regional powers. So that will give some assurance to the other countries to recognize this genocide without concerning or harming the relationship with these countries. Example of the other progress we need to mention, because the genocide recognition has two sides. One is political and the other one legal. At the time of the crimes, we didn't have any of them. After that, some development, which I mentioned in the earlier slide. There are more attention to the Kurdish question now, and some actions taken. For example, we mentioned the safe haven was of a good development, and the Netherlands, Hague Court charged France Van Enrad for shipping chemical agents to Iraq, which is used eventually against the Kurds in Halabja and other places. In Norway, the parliament debated the Kurdish genocide, also asking the foreign ministry to attend. That was politically a good development. I'd like to thank Mr. Akhtar Chowdhury, the vice president of the parliament. He initiated that action. In Sweden, also, the parliament foreign committee agreed Anfal as a genocide. And then again, in Netherlands, Parliament's Foreign Committee met with the KRG delegation for discussing Kurdish genocide recognition. This is last year. Netherlands, again, we met with the ICC, the president, and we had many positive hearing from them. In the Netherlands, again, the Hague agreed to create Halabja Monument, and unanimously the council approved that project. Also, frequent visits to Kurdistan and its crime sites by delegation from many countries now is very frequent. We can understand there's a political message, and we need to work on that heavily. On the legal side is still we need to work much harder. So only we met with the ICC, asked ICC whether we can be as a regional observer, because Iraq is not a member of the ICC. So that's why the ICC is restricted only to commit the crimes taken by the countries are members of the ICC. So which is logically is not right. But we hope, we need to work hard on that one, and also how to take the crimes to the ICC or other international bodies. At the end, what we need to do, we have hope. So we need to work harder. We achieved some steps, but we need from now on, we feel that there's positive condition comparing with the past. We need to find or work on identifying a roadmap, politically and legally, how to take this case further, how to take the international recognition, which we have already, to international recognition. Okay, at the end, I hope that your invaluable contribution in this conference can conclude recommendations and a roadmap that enable us to take more cooperative and coordinated steps towards achieving proper recognition of these crimes by the international and the national bodies, in particular the countries known for their commitment to the principles of human rights and justice. Also, I hope through our collective efforts, we can achieve peace, justice, living in harmony in order to bring smile and hope to our children and to our future. Thank you very much for your attention.